Welcome to our lecture on homogeneous second-order differential equations. Today, we are going to explore how mathematics describes systems that move entirely on their own, without any outside forces pushing or pulling them. By the end of this video, you will understand how to predict whether a system will smoothly come to a stop or oscillate back and forth forever. To begin, imagine you are pushing a child on a swing. If you stop pushing, the swing eventually slows down and stops on its own. Because you stopped pushing, there is no outside force acting on the system. In mathematics, when a system moves entirely on its own like this, we call it a homogeneous system. The term second order simply means we are looking at acceleration, which is the second derivative of position. So a homogeneous second-order equation is just a mathematical way to describe a system balancing its own internal forces, like mass and friction, without any outside help. Now that we understand what a homogeneous system is, let us look at its mathematical formula. This equation relates an unknown function to its own derivatives. The zero on the right side is what makes it homogeneous, representing the complete absence of any external driving force. The function y represents the position of the system. The first derivative represents velocity, and the second derivative represents acceleration. The letters a, b, and c are constant coefficients, representing physical properties. For example, A could be the mass of an object, B could be air resistance, and C could be the stiffness of a spring. If mass or stiffness increases, the system's acceleration and velocity will change accordingly. This formula we just saw leads us to an important question. How do we actually solve it? Solving differential equations directly using calculus can be incredibly difficult. However, mathematicians found a brilliant shortcut. We can bypass the calculus entirely and transform our complicated differential equation into a basic quadratic equation from high school algebra. This new algebraic equation is called the characteristic equation. By simply finding the roots of this quadratic equation, we can completely determine the physical behavior of our system. Before we see where this shortcut comes from, let us look at the characteristic equation itself. Notice how simple it is. The constants a, b, and c are the exact same numbers from our original differential equation. The calculus derivatives have been completely replaced by the variable r squared and r. To find the solution to our physical system, all we have to do is solve this quadratic equation for r. Depending on whether the roots are real numbers or complex numbers, the system will exhibit different physical behaviors, like smooth decay or oscillating waves. Now that we have our algebraic shortcut, let us see this with a concrete example. We are given a specific differential equation where the mass is 1, friction is -5, and spring stiffness is 6. We want to find the general solution for the position y. Our first step is to bypass the calculus by writing down the characteristic equation. We replace the second derivative with r squared, the first derivative with r, and the original function with the number 1. This gives us a standard quadratic equation. To solve it, we factor it by finding two numbers that multiply to +6 and add to -5. Continuing with our algebra, we set each individual factor equal to 0. This reveals our two distinct real roots, r equals 2 and r equals 3. Because our original equation is linear and homogeneous, we use the principle of superposition. This rule allows us to multiply our individual exponential solutions by arbitrary constants, c1 and c2, and add them together. This gives us our final general solution. Physically, because the exponents 2 and 3 are positive, this represents a system whose output grows exponentially over time. Let us look at a second example. Here, we want to solve a differential equation that is missing the middle derivative term. In a physical sense, the absence of this term means there is absolutely no friction or air resistance to slow the system down. Even though a term is missing, our strategy remains exactly the same. We write down the characteristic equation, noting that there is no middle r term. We then isolate r squared by moving the positive 9 to the other side, making it negative. Continuing our solution, to solve for r, we must now take the square root of negative 9. This introduces the imaginary unit I, giving us purely imaginary roots of plus or minus 3i. When roots are complex, a mathematical theorem called Euler's formula tells us that the exponential solutions transform into sines and cosines. Here, our real part is 0 and our imaginary part is 3. This gives us our final general solution. The presence of sine and cosine means the solution is a wave that oscillates back and forth forever, perfectly describing a frictionless pendulum. Now that we have successfully used the characteristic equation, let us understand where it comes from. How did we turn calculus into algebra? To solve the original differential equation, we needed a magical function that, when added to its own derivatives, perfectly cancels out to 0. The only function that looks like its own derivative is the exponential function. So we make an educated guess that the solution looks like e to the power of r times t. Using basic calculus, we take the first derivative, which brings an r down, and the second derivative, which brings another r down. Continuing with our derivation, we substitute our new expressions for position, velocity, and acceleration back into the original differential equation. Notice that every single term now contains the exact same exponential piece. In mathematics, an exponential function can never equal 0, no matter what time value you plug in. Because it is never 0, we can safely divide the entire equation by e to the power of r times t, factoring it out completely. This brilliant algebraic trick makes the calculus disappear entirely, leaving us with our final result, the characteristic equation. Let us visualize what these different mathematical roots actually mean in the real world. Look at the graph on your screen. The horizontal axis represents time, and the vertical axis represents displacement. The solid black line shows an overdamped system, with real roots sluggishly returning to rest. The dashed line shows a critically damped system, with a repeated root returning to rest as quickly as possible without bouncing. Finally, the oscillating blue wave shows an underdamped system, with complex roots, bouncing back and forth like a car with bad shock absorbers. The math perfectly predicts the physical reality. You might be wondering, why do we spend so much time studying these homogeneous second-order equations? The answer is that they are the fundamental language of vibrations and oscillations in the real world. Every time a civil engineer designs a skyscraper to withstand earthquake tremors, they use these exact equations to ensure the building sways safely and returns to rest. Electrical engineers use them to design circuits that tune into specific radio frequencies. Even the shock absorbers in your car are designed using the characteristic equation to ensure a smooth ride. Without this math, we could not control physical systems. To summarize our lecture, homogeneous second-order differential equations describe systems that move entirely under their own internal forces, with no external push. By making a clever exponential guess, we can transform a highly complex calculus problem into a simple quadratic equation. Most importantly, the roots of this characteristic equation instantly tell us how the system will behave physically, whether it will smoothly decay to rest or oscillate endlessly like a wave. You have now mastered the foundational concepts of these powerful mathematical tools.